Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another Thoth Tarot deep dive. And we are going to be at least getting into the cups and maybe even air. And if I feel like it, we'll also just go straight to the end and do earth as well. Because by the looks of it, there's not much to the court cards other than the fact that they're archetypal personalities. And I think it's maybe, in a sense, good to just get it out of the way, because I think it would be more important to actually go to the small cards, which would be the next part of it, and that would be the last part of it. So without further ado, we are going to get into the first card for in regards to this video, and it's going to be the Knight of Cups. So Fire of Water. So I'll just change it over. So here we are. Let's begin. So Knight of Cups, graceful, poetic, Venusian, indolent, but enthusiastic if roused. Ill-dignified, he is sensual, idle, and untruthful. Good lord. All right. So the Knight of Cups represents the fiery part of water, the swift, passionate attack of rain and springs. More intimately, water's power of solution. He rules the heavens from the 21st degree of Aquarius to the 20th degree of Pisces. He is clothed in black armor, furnished with bright wings, which, together with the leaping attitude of his white charger, indicate that he represents the most active aspect of water. In his right hand, he bears a cup from which he issues a crab, the cardinal sign of water, for aggressiveness. His totem is the peacock, for one of the stigmata of water in its most active form of brilliance. He is also some reference to the phenomena of fluorescence. The characteristics of the person signified by this card are nevertheless mostly passive. In accordance with the zodiacal attribution, he is grateful, a dilettante, with the qualities of Venus or a weak Jupiter. He is amiable in a passive way. He is quick to respond to attraction and easily becomes enthusiastic under such stimulus. But he is not very enduring. He is exceedingly sensitive to external influence, but with no material depth in his character. When the card is ill-dignified, he is sensual, idle, and untruthful. Yet with all this, he possesses an innocence and purity which are the essence of his nature. But he is, on the whole, so superficial that it is hard to reach this depth. His name is writ in water. Interesting. In the King, the fiery part of water is represented by the 54th hexagram Quay May. The commentary is singularly obscure and somewhat sinister. It deals with the difficulties of rightly mating such opposites as fire and water. Compare the Queen of Wands, but in that case, water is the calming and modulating influence, while here it is fire which creates trouble. Swiftness and violence ill-suited. A character naturally placid, it is rare indeed to meet with a person who has succeeded in harmonizing these conflicting elements. He tends to mismanage all of his affairs, and unless sheer good fortune attend him, his whole career will be an unbroken record of failure and disaster. That's not good. Often his mental civil war ends in schizophrenia or melancholy madness. The abuse of stimulants and narcotics may precipitate the catastrophe. All right. So I guess if you're a Pisces, look the fuck out. Otherwise, you're going to be in deep trouble. Deep. Hard and hard and hard. I'm not going to fucking mention what that's from, but it's something to do with a male sheep on a ranch. And there's 18 of them. These cowboys. All right. Now we get into the understanding the Thoth Tarot explanation. I've got to be careful with this one. Both my wife and son are the Knight of Cups. Of course, none of the negative qualities of this card pertain to either of them. Leaping out of this card is the opposite direction that the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Cups is a cool contrast to his brother. The Fire of Water brings mind water into action. A pelting rain, a gushing spring, and the more patient actions whereby water erodes and dissolves things. Like most of the court cards, Harris's version respectfully contains all the major features of the Golden Dawn model, including a most beautiful and subtle peacock that seems to be fashioned from a plume of pure water created by the wake of the night's movement. Oh, you're right. Oh, there is too. It's like in the corner here. I've never noticed that before. Man, Lady Harris was definitely an artist and a half. If she was able to like just cram all that symbolism into really subtle spaces and like things that you would almost never see. It's really incredible. I think Crowley rather liked this fellow, and after all, what's not to like? He's amiable in a passive way. He's quick to respond to attraction. He easily becomes enthusiastic under such stimulus, but he's not very enduring. Yeah, Crowley. Far out. We can probably blame the influence of mutable Pisces for throwing her wet blanket on the white horse of our otherwise fiery lord of the waves and the waters. This makes the Knight of Cups a pretty nice guy. He's just not very deep. In fact, the worst name we can call him is Shallow Water. Okay. He has a natural innocence and purity that makes him likable, but he's often just not deep enough for those virtues to easily manifest as profound nobility of character. As Crowley says, his name is written water. While this may be somewhat true for natives such as Sonny Bono, Mia Farrow, and Burt Reynolds, there must also be something in the character of this card that engenders the likes of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Susan B. Anthony, and Thomas Edison. All right. Cool blues and blue-greens dominate this card as they do the other cup court cards. Yep, all right. Sounds about right. All right, now we get into the Queen of Cups, Water of Water, and that's Cancer. So we will go straight into... Sorry, guys, let me just get that. That's I live next to an airbase, so... That's better. All right. Okay. Where are we going? Water of Water, Queen of Cups. All right. Okay, so she's imaginative, poetic, kind, yet not willing to take much trouble for another. Coquettish, good-natured, and underneath a dreamy appearance, imagination stronger than feeling. Very much affected by other influences and therefore dependent upon dignity than most symbols. All right. The Queen of Cups represent the watery part of water, its power of reception and reflection. In the Zodiac, it rules from the 21st degree of Gemini to the 20th degree of Cancer. Her image is of extreme purity and beauty with infinite subtlety. To see the truth of her is hardly possible, for she reflects the nature of the observer in great perfection. She is represented as enthroned upon still water. In her hand she bears a shell-like cup from which issues a crayfish, and she bears also the lotus of Isis, of the Great Mother. She is robed in and veiled by endless curves of light, and the sea upon which she enthroned conveys the almost unbroken images of the images which she represents. The characteristics associated with this card are principally dreaminess, illusion, and tranquility. She is the perfect agent and patient, able to receive and transmit everything without herself being affected thereby. If ill-dignified, all these qualities are degraded. Everything that passes through her is refracted and distorted, but speaking generally, her characteristics depend mostly upon the influences which affect her. So I'm guessing, like, Cancer is someone who's, like, very, very passive and, like, mainly just the moon. Soulless almost. I don't mean that in a very, yeah, it can sound demeaning, but there's, like, there's something to say about that. Anyway, we will get to this one. In the I Ching, the watery part of water is represented by the 8th hexagram, Tui. The commentary is as colorless as the card, consists of mild exhortations on the subject of pleasure. It may really be said that normally people of this type have no character at all of their own, unless it can be called a characteristic to be at the disposition of every impact or impression. There is, however, a hint, line 6, that the chief pleasure of people of this type is to lead and attract others, such as accordingly, often enough, exceedingly popular. Okay. So, and while I'm reading about this, I should probably also, like, look at the I Ching as well, because I've been looking at the I Ching, and I think that might be good to just sort of look at the extend the personalities a bit more, and to sort of understand what it sort of symbolically represents. Now, it's important to remember these are just correspondences that Crowley put, and you might think different otherwise. Because the interesting thing with the world of correspondences is that not everyone thinks the same thing. Okay? There's actually sometimes different reasons people swap different things, and I think sometimes the correspondences and the swaps can actually still be coherent even though they might be opposite or something like that. All right. Now on to the Thoth Tarot explanation, understanding. Okay. The Queen of Cups is my birthday court card. Oh, Lon Milo's a Cancer. So please be warned that the objectivity of my comments may be obscured by clouds of narcissism. But honestly, who am I to argue with Crowley? Harris's Queen of Cups bears striking similarities to R2, the High Priestess. As a matter of fact, if you were to trim the borders of the two cards and place the Queen of Cups upside down above the High Priestess, you would see that they match in a dizzying display of synthetic projective geometry. I could actually probably see that happening, yeah. Both cards represent the image of a great cup, the stem of which is formed by the body of a goddess. R2 is the cup of the virginal goddess of the moon. The Queen of Cups is that of the great mother goddess. Water of water is tantamount to saying reflection of reflection or mirror to mirror. The Queen of Cups is popular and makes friends easily because whether others look at her, they see only themselves. Crowley tells us that she is a perfect agent and patient, able to receive and transmit everything without herself being affected thereby. To liberals, she looks like a liberal. To conservatives, she looks like a conservative. When in truth, she may be neither. If ill-dignified, she can be dangerous, cruel, distorting the reflections she casts back onto her unsuspecting victims, who then see only monsters in the mirror. I guess that maybe just means if you're cruel, she'll be cruel back. My fellow Queen of Cups include Paul McCartney, Jacques Cousteau, John D. Rockefeller, Nikola Tesla, George Orwell, and Gerald Gardner. Don't really like John D. Rockefeller, hopefully for obvious reasons. Cool blues and blue greens dominate this card as they do the other Cups court cards. All right, we go on to the Prince of Cups. Now, Prince of Cups. Maybe while I'm thinking about it, these are sometimes archetypes you could possibly assume. And they obviously radiate from these different Sephiroth. I think that's actually a really important thing, you know. We can always assume different, like there's this thing in the mystery traditions called an assumption of God forms, right? So when people say they turn into werewolves or eagles or stuff like that, that's actually an animistic assumption of a form. And I think maybe when you're looking at all these archetypes through as you're going through it, what's actually happening is you're looking at things that you could possibly invoke even. So maybe it's not entirely useless, and that these archetypes that you sort of see, and maybe if we are to consider that the whole tree of life is a map of the universe, and it's also a miniature map of the universe for man, that means that every single person probably contains every single parts of these archetypes. And I think that's probably a better way of looking at it, instead of like, oh, you're this one or that one. But you might have more influence of this one. In fact, you might even have more influence of certain spheres, right? You might be more sensitive to the moon, the Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, the sun. And yeah, like I've noticed for me personally, when shit goes wrong, it's usually because Mercury's in a particular, whether it's in retrograde or a certain zodiac. So I think that's worth noting. Okay, here we go. October 13th to November 12th. With style worthy of a comic book, Harris's Princess of Cups makes a Wait, I didn't actually start this one. Sorry, guys. The Prince of Cups represents the airy part of water. On the other hand, elasticity, volatility, hydrostatic equilibrium. On the other hand, the catalytic faculty and the energy of steam. He rules from the 21st degree of Libra to the 20th degree of Scorpio. He is a warrior partly clad in armor, which seems, however, rather a growth than a covering. His helmet is surmounted by an eagle, and his chariot, which resembles a shell, is also drawn by an eagle. His wings are tenuous, almost of gas. This is a reference to his power of volatilization understood in the spiritual sense. In his right hand, he bears a lotus flower, the sacred to the element of water, and in his left hand is a cup from which issues a serpent. The third totem, the scorpion, is not shown in the picture, for the putrefaction of which it represents is an extremely secret process. Beneath his chariot is the calm and stagnant water of a lake upon which rain falls heavily. The whole symbol of this card is exceedingly complicated, for Scorpio is the most mysterious of the signs, and the manifested portion of it symbolized by the eagle is in reality the least important by part of its nature, of his nature. The moral characteristics of the person pictured in this card are subtlety, secret, violence, and craft. He is intensely secret and an artist in all his ways. On the surface, he appears calm and imperturbable, but this is a mask of the most intense passion. He, on the surface, is susceptible to external influences, but he accepts them only to transmute them to the advantage of his secret designs. He is thus completely without conscience in the ordinary sense of the word, and is therefore usually distrusted by his neighbors. They feel they do not and can never understand him. Thus, he inspires unreasonable fear. That's sort of it's. I'm not even a Scorpio, but I find it really interesting that Well, actually, let's look at that. October 13, October 12. What I find really interesting is that it's sort of the same thing. Like when people don't understand you, they find fear because we like to understand things, and when people are different, it becomes very difficult to, I guess, want to assimilate that. Rather than just using your intuition, you need to have known and established a pattern with a particular kind of person, and when a pattern is not established, it can be really disconcerting and really all over the point and chaotic to some people. So we gotta so that's not my fucking problem. Okay. He is in fact perfectly ruthless. He cares intensely for power, wisdom, and his own aims. He feels no responsibility to others, and although his abilities are so immense, he cannot be relied upon to work in harness. In the Yi King, the airy part of water is represented by the 61st hexagram Kung Fu. Empty hands. Interesting. Kung Fu. That's something I didn't expect to see. This is one of the most important figures in the Yi. It moves even pigs and fish and leads to great good fortune. Its dignities and correspondences are manifold and great, for it is also a big Li, the trigram of soul formed by doubling the lines. By shape, it suggests a boat, but also the geomantic figure of Cancer, Saturn in Capricornus. This card, in consequence one of great power. Libra going over into Scorpio is of tremendous active critical energy and weight. To such people, goodwill, sincerity, and right mating are the essentials of success. Their danger is overweening ambition. All right. Now we go to the Thoth Tarot explanation. With style worthy of a comic book cover, Harris's Prince of Cups makes a spectacular entrance by bursting straight at us from a crashing wave, his chariot drawn by an enormous black eagle. His left hand grasps a cup out of which rises a coiled snake. In his right hand, he holds an enormous lotus blossom. I have to believe that Crowley had an unpleasant experience with her Prince of Cups. If everyone born between October 13 and November 12 manifested all the dark and chilling qualities Crowley ascribed to this card, then 1/12 of the population of the planet would be melodrama villains. I mean, I think it's true, to be perfectly fucking honest with you. I think there's more than that, to be quite fair. Just because they might not be entirely successful or in positions of power doesn't mean they're not massive pieces of shit. Let's put it that way. While that may have been true of Princes of Cups, Lee Harvey Oswald and Leon Trotsky, there is still great strength in the potential in this card. Libra passing over to Scorpio is a very strong moment, but the active characteristic of air in the passive environment of water makes an uneasy combination. Like foaming bubbles exploding from an under-chilled bottle of champagne, these two elements do not care if they ruin the party or the furniture. They just want to get up and away from each other. Maybe that is why Crowley describes the Prince of Cups as completely without conscience in the ordinary sense of the word and is therefore usually distrusted by his neighbours. I've known several Prince of Cups, including my father, and I must say they were indeed men of immense abilities who could not be, as Crowley noted, relied upon to work in harness. The same could be said of fellow princes Martin Luther, Oscar Wilde, Friedrich Nietzsche, Timothy Leary, yeah boy, and Pablo Picasso. Interesting. Cool blues and blue greens dominate this card as they do the other cups court cards. All right, we're at 21 minutes actually, which I was not expecting to happen. So maybe just after this one, I might actually do a little bit of a, I guess, summary, and then I'll do the next one. So yeah, I'm actually surprised that we're gonna do all of the cards separately. I'm just a bit worried about all the small cards because I think they're all going to be 1 hour videos or more. So in total, I've got 6 videos after this, and then we're all done. Anyway, now Princess of Cups, Earth of Water. Let's go over to the next one over here. Sweetness, poetry, gentleness and kindness, imaginative, dreamy, at times indolent, yet courageous if roused. When ill-dignified, she is selfish and luxurious. All right. The Princess of Cups represents the earthy part of water, in particular the faculty of crystallization. She represents the power of water to give substance to idea, to support life, and to form the basis of chemical combination. She is represented as a dancing figure robed in a flowing garment on whose edges crystals are seen to form. For her crest, she wears a swan with open wings. The symbolism of this swan reminds one of the swan in Oriental philosophy, which is the word om or which is the symbol of the entire process of creation. And I think that's interesting because that's sort of like Yod, and that's Virgo, like water of earth. She bears a covered cup which issues a tortoise. This is again the tortoise which in Hindu philosophy supports the elephant on whose back is the universe. She is dancing upon a foaming sea in which disports himself a dolphin, the royal fish, which symbolizes the power of creation. The character of the princess is infinitely gracious. All sweetness or voluptuousness, gentleness, kindness, and tenderness are in her character. She lives in the world of romance and the perpetual dream of rapture. On a superficial examination, she might be thought selfish and indolent, but this is quite a false impression. Silently and effortlessly, she goes about her work. In the I Ching, the earthy part of water is represented by the 41st hexagram, sun. This means diminution. Fuck's sake, I'm sorry, guys. The dissolution of all solidity. People described by this card are very dependent on others, but at the same time helpful to them. Rarely at best are they of individual importance. As helpmeets, they are unsurpassed. All right. Well, I mean, I think it's interesting that so together with the Ace of Cups rules the Libra quadrant of the Wolf Pole. So I'm guessing it just simply means the Earth of Water sort of contains all of those other 3 core cards, like I said about the sort of the Princess of Wands. All right. I cannot overemphasize the importance of this relationship between the ace of each suit and its princess. The ace may be beautiful to look at, but because it is the root, the hidden germ of its suit and element, it is impossible to understand. The princess, on the other hand, represents the end product, the crystallization and materialization of what was purely potential in the ace. In the language of religion, the ace may be worshipped, but the princess can be adored. That being so, it would not be inappropriate for the herald of this card to cry out, "All fall down before Princess of the Waters, Lotus of the Palace of the Floods, Throne of the Holy Grail." You might... oh, that's a typo, I think. You might think I'm laying it on a bit thick for this young lady, but I assure you, not half as thick as Mr. Crowley did. She's not all dreams either. As Earth of Water, she literally can ground vaporous and romantic ideas into manifestation. It provides a fixed and fertile medium where the water-nourished life of ideas can flourish. Harris's image is one of graceful fluid movement. The water is alive with large smooth waves that suggest a heavy environment of ocean depths. The princess is dancing, her eyes closed, her head thrown back, and the expression of pure rapture on her face reminiscent of Bernini's The Ecstasy of St. Teresa. The scallops of her dress are the same motive found on the Ace of Cups, and the hem is adorned with clear water crystals. Princesses do not rule the degree. Princesses do not rule degrees of the zodiacal year, so we have no examples of celebrated personages who were princesses or cups. Cool blues and blue greens dominate as they do the other cups cards. Okay, that will bring us to the end of that explanation for that one. So yeah. Like, maybe meditate on the whole connection between aces. So I guess it's like I sort of said aces is sort of like mind, but it's not quite correct. Think of it as like there's the potential for this. Basically, the potential for this pen exists in the aces. That's a better way of looking at it, and that's where the aces come from, and that is the manifestation. 27 minutes. All right. You know what? So I will probably do them one by one by the looks of it. I didn't expect to spend 27 minutes just doing that one. So thank you guys for tuning in. I am yours truly, Mathame, and please like, share, subscribe. I hope you subscribe to my Substack because I'm going to be doing a lot of fun stuff, I imagine, after I'm completely done with this Thoth Tarot deep dive project. I'll see you guys later.